All right. Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? I know it's been a while since y'all seen me come on here and go, live or anything closely resembling a live or a Zoom. But today I'm coming on because I want to talk about something that we normally don't. We I'm talking about us as a people and us as people who are not multimillionaires, people who are not, worth more than $1 million. Okay. We normally don't get involved in conversations or we're not exposed to conversations about creating wealth through early investment opportunities. But today, I've been doing some research here over the last 6 months, and I've been noticing some things, and I wanted to bring it to you all's attention because I don't want any of you to say that I didn't fill you in. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to talk you into anything. What I am simply doing is relaying this information that you may not be aware of and that you may not have been exposed to. As you all know, we just launched a rocket with people on it to go around the moon, slingshot, and came back to Earth. That's the first. Okay, it is the first step to us colonizing the moon. It is the first step for us sending humans to Mars. Now, with that being said, the technology and the equipment used to make that happen is owned by a few companies, uh, only about three that can actually do it. Okay. And one of the leading companies that are 10 years ahead of every other company, which by any understanding, that's like a million years in dog years. The company that is currently 10 years ahead of everyone else who has the capability of doing this is SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk. And I know a lot of you are probably saying, well, I don't like Elon Musk because of his political views and what he did in the election. Look, I don't like him either. I don't like him either. But the man is going to make hundreds of thousands of people millionaires, billionaires, and some even trillionaires. And here's the thing, you have an opportunity to be exposed to that. Now, I'm going to play some things for you here, and then we're going to get into why you should be trying to get exposure to SpaceX, trying to get ahead of their pre-IPO. Notice I said pre-IPO. That is very important. Pre-IPO. Keep note of that. I want y'all to understand this because this is how wealthy people get wealthier, and the system keeps everyone else back. Okay? So I'm going to explain to you all how us as everyday people can actually get exposed to this pre-IPO. That's the pre-launch before SpaceX goes public. So let's play some things here, and I want y'all to take a look at some stuff. Let me share my screen.
SpaceX confidentially filing for an IPO, and reportedly Elon Musk wants 30% of the IPO to go to retail investors. Why and how could it benefit him? Deirdre Bosa has more in today's Tech Check. That may be the highest proportion I've ever heard of, Dee.
It is. You're right, LP. It is. And you know the space very well. So that 30% number is the one to watch here. In a typical IPO, retail gets 5 to 10%. So Musk wants 3 times the norm. And that framing is that this is about giving everyday investors access. But there's another way to read it. Musk has seen what a loyal retail base can do for him. At Tesla, retail owns about 30% of the stock. They backed his $56 billion pay package after a court struck it down. And then they approved a new one worth up to $1 trillion. So that is exactly the shareholder base that he wants at SpaceX from day one. Now, the timing makes sense, too. Retail has become a massive force in this market, more than $300 billion into U.S. stocks last year, according to J.P. Morgan. But until now, that has been bottom up. GameStop, AMC, others. Retail organizing itself. This is different. It's top down, an issuer designing the shareholder base before a share even trades, before it even gets to market. So Musk is trying to build this from the jump. And if it does work, Leslie, it could become the playbook for OpenAI and Anthropic's expected listings later this year. The AI trade at large, it's really interesting to think what this could do to it. It could be priced on retail faith and loyalty. And that's certainly different than what we've seen on the price, especially for new companies.
Yeah, and historically, retail has served as that marginal buyer on day one. That kind of, especially for a name that's pretty name brand like SpaceX is. Does that maybe pour cold water or pose any risk to that notion?
There's a question of whether they can actually fulfill this 30% of such a large listing. But you're right, they've been along for the ride, and this is a fundamental change, right? If you want to allocate 30% to these retail investors, that changes the dynamic, right, of the company, the whole makeup of it. Might be willing to vote more with Elon Musk. So it's really interesting to consider whether it actually happens. Speak to some people who say kind of like, yeah, right, it's going to be hard, or you're going to leave them with the bag if they do that. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea. I'm very curious to see how it works, especially on that first day of trading where retail can come in and really make a difference there. Deirdre Bosa, thank you so much.
All right. I want y'all to notice something here. Y'all give me a second here. I want you all to notice something. Let me stop my share real quick. I want you all to notice what they said. A few things that they said. They talked about retail investors. Elon Musk is, and by the way, that clip was from 6 weeks ago. Okay, that was from 6 weeks ago. Elon Musk announced that he, about 2-3 months ago, announced that he was going to take SpaceX public, probably sometime in April, May, or June. It is now April. Okay, has not gone public yet, but he was going to take it public. Now, here's the thing I want y'all to pay attention with that little clip there. A lot of dimes were dropped during that clip that you all need to understand. They talked about the retail market. He wants to make SpaceX go public, and he wants to offer 30% of the shares, want them to be available to the retail investor. A retail investor is an investor who is not worth $1 million. They are non-accredited investors. Those are people who don't earn at least $200,000 a year as a single person or $300,000 a year as a married couple. And their net worth is not more than $1 million, excluding the home. An accredited investor is someone whose net worth exceeds $1 million, not including their home, and they make at least $200,000 a year as a single person or $300,000 a year as a married couple. Now, accredited investors traditionally have been the only ones who were able to invest in pre-IPO stock. That's stock before it goes public. That's like the stock where people bought in Uber before it went public, and they got it at pennies or dollars on the share. And when it went public, they all became multi-millionaires and billionaires. It doesn't get offered to us until it goes public. When it goes at the pre-IPO, it could be $1 a share, $5 a share, $10 a share, $29. But after that, it's $75 a share, $100 a share, $200 a share. In some cases, pre-IPO stock is less than a penny a share. And that's a rule that non-accredited investors can't invest in that stuff. Only wealthy people are allowed to, per the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission. It's by design to keep wealthy people wealthy and everyone else poor. Okay? Because that's by design. There's an actual rule. There's actual law that prevents people who are not wealthy, who are not millionaires, from investing in pre-IPO stock. Okay? Now, Elon has said that he wants to take SpaceX public, but he wants 30% of that stock, that pre-IPO stock, to go to the retail investor. Now, the SEC still has control over who has this access. That's all right. So the SEC says that even if he wants 30% to go to the public, legally, by design, that can't happen directly. It can't happen where we can actually go and buy direct shares of SpaceX directly from SpaceX. We can't do it. Now, people who are worth $1 million, they can. They can go and get direct shares from SpaceX. We can't. Okay? We have to go through a retail broker, a retail brokerage firm. Okay? Some of y'all might know some retail brokerage firms like Robinhood, Titan, Charles Schwab, places like that. Those are retail brokers. Even Wells Fargo has a retail brokerage firm. Okay, so those are retail brokerage firms. And if those retail brokerage firms is offering a fund, an investment fund, that is a group of companies that have not filed for their IPO yet, they have not filed to go public, they're still in their pre-IPO. They invest in these different companies. Sometimes it can be 75 different companies, 100 different companies, sometimes two or 300 different companies. And they invest and they hold some holdings in these companies so you can invest in their fund, which would give you exposure to that pre-IPO. I know that all sounds complicated, but here, let me see if I can break it down for you. Okay, let me share my screen again. Let me see if I can break this down for everyone. Now, right here. All right, so it says who can invest in the SpaceX pre-IPO? Okay, SpaceX, and it tells you right here, SpaceX pre-IPO shares are primarily available to accredited investors, institutional buyers, and high net worth individuals. Accredited status requires a net worth of 1 million excluding your primary residence, an income over $200,000, or a valid securities license. Retail investors can gain indirect access through specialized funds or by purchasing shares on secondary market platforms. Now, a lot of you probably say, well, Calvin, who are these secondary market platforms? Okay, these platforms are places like I just mentioned. Okay, but not all of them offer funds that include SpaceX. Okay, I've noticed that there are at least three that I've noticed that does include funds to SpaceX. But here's the thing: is though, all right, you have to be real. You have to really inform yourself on these funds and what percentage of those funds that they have include are dedicated towards the SpaceX or the types of stuff that you want to actually invest in. Because a lot of them will have 20%, the fund is SpaceX, 5% is OpenAI, another 2% is Dynex, another 1% is this, another 0.2% is this, another 3%, another point this is a 0.00% is that. So you have all these other things in there that may not be worth a dime, but 70% of the fund, especially in the top 10 companies in that fund is what you really should be paying attention to. Because if any one of those top 10 companies does a breakout, guess what? Whatever money you have invested in them, it's going to shoot up. Okay? Now, it's not going to shoot up as much as someone who is able to get shares directly through SpaceX because 100% of their money is going to reap the benefits of that SpaceX stock. If you invest in a company that has 30% of the SpaceX stock, well, quite naturally, 30% of your money is going to benefit from that SpaceX rise. But here's the other thing though. Elon Musk has said that if you invest based on reports regarding SpaceX 2026 pre-IPO activities and Elon Musk's long-term projections, the claim suggests that early investment in the company could yield massive returns, potentially turning $100 into $100,000. While such extreme gains are highly speculative and depend on achieving a $100 trillion valuation in the distant future, the company is currently preparing for a major 2026 IPO, initial public offering, with a valuation expected to exceed $1.75 trillion. Now, what does that mean? That means if you are a millionaire and you invested $100 directly into SpaceX, your $100 it probably won't turn into $100,000 on day one because still, but going to a 1.75 trillion valuation, that's unheard of. And that's what all of the experts say that it will do on the opening day of that IPO. Okay, which could be in the next 2 to 3 months now. Okay, so Even with those, you can't invest just $100. They say that that's what $100 would be, but you have to invest at least $500, at least $500 to gain access to those types to gain shares in SpaceX directly. Okay, some companies may require you to invest, $10,000, $5,000, $1,000, or whatever. But I do know that there are companies out there, there are funds out there where you can invest at least $500. But remember, if that's the case, even at the 1.75 trillion, a $100 investment of SpaceX stocks directly could turn into $100,000. But if you're doing it through a secondary brokerage firm, which the only way that we are allowed to, and they hold at least 30% of the SpaceX stock, that means your same $100 invested on that same through the secondary market could turn your $100 into 3,000, 30,000 maybe, which is still great. Which is still great. No, you're not going to make as much as the rich people will because by design, the system is set up to make the wealthy wealthier and everybody else, got to fight for the scraps. But SpaceX is on so much of a cutting edge. It's so far ahead of any other, space company. It's literally 10 years ahead of everybody else in technology. 10 years ahead of everybody else in technology. That's why such a high valuation. And will it reach $100 trillion in valuation in the next 10 years? Probably. Within the next 20 years? I'd say definitely. So if you get your shares now before it goes public and just sit on those shares, come on, even a year from now, you're going to make serious money. But if you hold that for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, it could make you a millionaire or a multi-millionaire, even by going through a secondary market. Now, let's look at some of the companies that you can get these funds through the secondary market. One of them is called Titan. Okay, this is my Titan account. Yeah, okay. But and another one is called Public One. Okay. Now a lot of you say, well, Calvin, what about Robinhood? No, Robinhood does not offer you exposure to the SpaceX pre-IPO. Okay. They don't offer you exposure to it. Well, they kind of do. They do in a way. And I'm going to explain that if I have enough time. Okay. Let's see here. Where are we at here? Destiny, ARK. Destiny, here we go, right here. All right. All right. Public One and you can look it up. Public One is a brokerage, is a secondary, is a public brokerage, is a secondary brokerage firm that offers you exposure to the SpaceX. Okay. And the way they do it is through a fund called DX, and the stock code, y'all write this down. The stock code for that fund is let me find it here. The stock code of that fund is DXYZ. That's the stock code. Write that down. DXYZ. That is the stock code. And it is offered through Destiny. It is offered through Public One. You can get it through Public One. You can also get that through, I think you can get that through Robinhood also too. But here's the thing about the Destiny One. The Destiny One holds, and let's go to the holdings for that DXYZ. All right, here's the DXYZ stock. All right, fund. Now, about 38% of their fund is SpaceX. That's a good high number. 38% of their fund is SpaceX. Okay. They have 11.5, well, actually almost 39% of their portfolio is SpaceX. So that's good. Almost 11.5% is also MWAMVC SpaceX 2. Okay. Which is a space exploration tech corp. Okay. That's like a subsidiary of SpaceX. The other 7%, they have about 9% of the fund is Revolt Group holdings, and then five about 7% is DXYZ. Remember what we talked about DXYZ fund. So they hold the DXYZ fund as well. Okay, so they hold a part of their own fund, and the other one is Axiom Space and Epic Games, Chime, Financial, which is like 2%, and then it goes down from there. And you can see all these other things. These are all the holdings within that fund. So when you purchase stock in this fund, you actually are getting a piece of all these companies. Okay, all these companies. These companies are okay, but none of them are as good as the top 10. Okay, and the one you really want to keep an eye on is the top two: SpaceX and SpaceX 2. Okay, you want to keep calling them because they hold the largest percentage of that fund. So that's good. Now, another good thing about this fund is you can purchase this stock like you do regular stock at $29.51 per share right now. Okay. Yeah, I have made some purchases of that stock. I hold some of that stock, which I purchased that I think a couple of days ago. So I hold a few shares of that stock, myself. So you can purchase it at just $29.51 per share right now. Okay, that's what the stock is right now. Now, once SpaceX goes public, that is going to undoubtedly shoot way up, which means whatever you put into it, there's a good chance that you're going to make a lot of money. Your stock value is going to shoot up. Now, like anything else, investment involves risk. Nothing is a sure thing. Okay, I have to tell you that. Nothing is a sure thing. I am not an investment broker. I am not an investment banker. I am not so-called an expert. I am just like you who happens to study this stuff, and I do a lot of research in this stuff, and I've made some, good decisions when it comes to investing in certain stock. But I have never, ever, ever had the opportunity to get in on a pre-IPO. Okay, and I just could not miss this. Whatever little money I have, I had to take a portion of that and get some of this stock. Now, the other place you can get um, pre-IPO exposure is through the Titan group. Okay, like I said, I do have a Titan account. So the Titan group is where you can get other pre exposure, and it is through what's called their ARK Venture Fund. Now, the ARK Venture Fund is probably the fund that is most prominent to get you some serious returns on the SpaceX and some other stuff. And the reason why is let's look at their holdings. Okay, the ARK Venture Fund's holdings. If you look here, the biggest percentage of that fund is SpaceX, 17.2%. Okay, 0.02%. That's great. But what makes this fund such a great choice is all the other stuff that it has too. The top 10 is like the top 10 of any, it's like the all stars of, of companies to invest in. Okay. Um, SpaceX leads the way with 17.2%. Open AI, which is all, and these are all private companies, which means they haven't gone public yet. And you got to know that all these companies are eventually going to go public. The first to go is going to be SpaceX, then probably OpenAI, and then the next, and then the next. And each time one of those companies go public, boom, your fund just grows and grows and grows. But SpaceX is going to make it grow probably the largest. Okay, and that's what makes this fund such a great choice that I decided to choose. Okay, now I'm gonna give you the good and bad about this fund. The good is they got like Ooh, they got like the all stars of private companies to invest in. SpaceX holds a little over 17%. OpenAI holds over 11.5%. Replit, come on! I just learned about Replit a couple of days ago. That's the company that allows you to go in and you can type in, tell it, what you want to build, and it would literally build you an app, a website. I'm not talking about just something, that's gonna be for show. It can do back end, coding, front end coding, functionality, all of that. Now, it does cost money to do that, but in order to do that, because I am trying to launch my app and my democratized investment platform, which is Partners Incorporated, and I've checked with some coders, the companies that do the coding, and they're telling me that they want to charge me $100,000 to $120,000 to fully code, my app and to launch it and to manage it, and all that type of stuff. I've checked with the people who coded the Uber app and the Instacart app. Okay, they're ranging between $60 and $120,000 is what's going to cost me to get the app coded by them. Through Replit, I could probably do it for about $25,000 to $30,000. It's still a lot of money, but it's a whole lot less than what they're charging. So I can actually do that, and that's why Replit is so far up on this list, and you can look them up. But 4.73% of this fund is held in Replit. Figure AI, 4.5%. Anthropic, come on, another great name, 3.5%. Databricks, 3.16%. Zalfan, Zipline, Internationals, 2.9%, almost 3%. AR Labs, Renner Industry, and Boom Technology. That rounds out the top, of that fund. Now, because all of these companies, if they go public and when they go public, because all these companies, when they go public, will have such a huge impact on your worth of your shares of you buying this fund, of getting this fund. I mean, if let's say you put in $1,000 into this fund, and let's just say just 5 of these companies go public. It could make you a multimillionaire, even through the secondary market. Even through the secondary market. I need y'all to understand this. Okay, if you go to the full portfolio, it's showing you all of these, these different companies. Boom, Epic Games, Shield, AI. You're gonna see a lot of AI stuff. Why? Because AI is the future. AI is where the money is going to be made. AI is where advances are going to be made. It is going to take AI to get to the moon and stay on the moon. It's going to take AI to get to Mars. It's going to take AI to run companies and businesses and computer systems and all this other stuff. So a lot of this stuff is in AI. Okay? So that's what I like about the ARK investment fund. Now, something I need you all to understand. Okay? The ARK investment fund is not a regular stock fund. Okay? It is a closed-end private equity fund, which means you have to invest at least $500. You have to do a minimum of $500. Okay? And through Titan, it's about the only place you can get it. You have to do a minimum of $500, as you can see here. You have to do a minimum of that. Okay? You can't do anything less than $500. Here's the other kind of drawback, which is not really a drawback, but it is for some people. Once you invest in it, your money is stuck there for at least 6 months. Okay, you can't go back in and say, okay, well, I'm looking at my investments, everything is up, 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 up. I want to cash out. Now I got, I put in my $1,000 now. I got $50,000 because SpaceX went public, and now this other company is going public. Is going to take it to $100,000. I want to go ahead and draw out $10,000. Well, if it's before the 6 months, you can't do it. You can only draw out money during their funding cycle. Okay, and that's every 6 months. So I guess if you invest in it 2 months, before, and then it goes boom, and then or if you invest in a week before, and you get it, yeah, you can draw out that next week when the funding cycle happens. But funding cycles are only every 6 months. You can't go in, every week and say, okay, I want to draw out, this much money. I want to take out that much money. Okay, I want to cash out, this much. You can't do that with this type of fund. Okay, with this type of fund, you might have to sit there until the cycle comes around, and then you can choose to draw money out of it. Okay. Me personally, I don't plan on touching this thing for another 5 years. I'm putting in what I'm putting in, and I'm gonna try to I'm trying to get more in before SpaceX goes public. Okay, before they launch the IPO, before they go public, which I'm thinking is probably going to be early to mid June. I think we have about a month, maybe, maybe a month and a half. That's the timeline that we have right now. I'm thinking a month to a month and a half. Okay, because all of indicators show that this is going to happen within the next 2 months, by mid to late June. Okay. Now, again, if you put your money into the ARK Venture Fund, it has to stay there. It has to stay there until the next cycle, to the next funding cycle. With the Dynex one, you buy shares, in the Dynex, you can draw it out just like any other stock fund, because, like I say, it's just like any other stock. It's basically a venture fund. Is basically a regular stock masquerading as a venture fund. That's basically what it is. Okay, which means it has all of these holdings that you get exposure to all these other companies, just like a venture fund does, but it doesn't have the same characteristics of a venture fund where your money have to sit there until the next funding cycle. And you can trade and you can buy and trade this stock, on a daily basis. You can go into the option trading on this and trade this on a daily basis. Okay, that's the difference. That's the difference. But the ARK fund is the most attractive because it has those very, very nice companies. All these, all these superstars. When it comes to companies that are at the top of the list, that has all that potential to make this money. Now, I need y'all to understand that this doesn't happen. You know, you normally everyday people cannot gain exposure to this type of stuff, or we are not shown how to gain exposure to this type of stuff. Yes, the ARK Fund has been around for a while. The Destiny Fund, all that has been around for a while. But normally, this doesn't get as much hype because a company like SpaceX doesn't go public every day. This is like if you had gotten in on Bitcoin back in 2012 when it was you can get 12 Bitcoins for $72. This is like if you would have gotten in on Uber back in 2011 when you could have bought Uber stock before it launched at 10 cents a share. This is like, getting, any of those companies that getting Facebook shares before Facebook went public. Where you can get Facebook shares for like $1 a share, 10 cents a share, when Facebook wasn't worth a dime. Literally. But now you can't get space a Facebook stock, I don't think, for anything less than $900 to $1,000 a share. So yeah, this is huge. And SpaceX is going to surpass all of that. Because it's SpaceX. It's SpaceX. They're 10 years ahead of everybody else in the space industry. So, like or dislike, Elon Musk, I don't care. I don't give a rat's. You know what? I know that his company's big money. And here's another great thing about this launch. And this is just my opinion. You can take it for whatever it's worth. But I've been doing the research and I've been kind of looking at some stuff. And all indications is that Elon Musk is going to merge all of his companies. Tesla, his solar company, his company with the boxable homes and all this other stuff, SpaceX 2, all these companies his AI company, all these companies are going to be merged under one SpaceX umbrella. Why? Because it's going to take all of that technology to get us to Mars. And that's the goal. First of all, to get us to the moon and remain there as a colony. Do you all realize how big that is? How much money there is to be made from us colonizing the moon and doing it first? How much money there is in colonizing Mars? I need y'all to understand this. This is one of those, this is like Bitcoin times 100, times 1,000. This is like Google times 1,000. Netflix times 10,000. That's how big this is. Okay, I need y'all to understand that. All right. So, but yeah, you can get in on this through either the ARK Investment Fund by going to Titan. Look up Titan, Titan Global. You can go to app.titan.com. Look for it on your phone. Download the app. And then you can go from there. You can kind of, connect your bank account to it, and you can transfer funds from there over there. And then and when you go to the Titan app, you say, I want to invest in the ARK, investment. It can ask you some questions, about your income and all this other stuff. Don't lie, be honest, because this is for non-accredited investors. Unless you're worth $1 million, you're not going to be able to buy SpaceX stock directly anyway. Only wealthy people can do that. Only wealthy people can do that, and that's by design. Now, I know the system is set up to make the wealthy wealthy and everyone else stand still. That's why they don't tell us this. That's why they don't broadcast a lot of this stuff. That's why they allow only wealthy people to invest in pre-IPO stocks. That's why I am creating the Partners Incorporated, which is a democratized investment platform that allows everyday people to invest at least a minimum of $100 into small businesses, which is not regulated by the SEC and all this other stuff. You can become solid business partners in small businesses that take less than $200,000 to start up. So my platform that I'm developing will allow, and by the way, it is a free platform. I just need to raise enough capital to pay for the coding. If I do it through Reddit, it's going to be about $25,000 to $30,000. If I go with a proven coder, like the people that did the Uber and the Instacart app, it's going to be anywhere from $60,000 to $120,000. So, but yeah, you all can go to my website and all this other stuff and take a look at that. And if you think that that's a great thing and you want to support it, please do so. I have a crowdfund link to my GiveSendGo to help raise capital to launch that platform, and that would be a free platform that allows anybody to invest as little as $100 to own a percentage of a small business startup or a real estate venture that takes less than $100,000. And by owning that piece of that, when that company starts making money, you start getting your regular dividend checks from your share of the profits from that company. So, and you can do that 100 times over and build a portfolio of companies that are paying you monthly and quarterly dividends every month and every quarter. But anyway, but yeah, um, get this. Try to get something. Try to get exposed to SpaceX, okay, and their pre-IPO. If you can afford to do the ARK fund, do that. Oh, by the way, let me make something very clear to y'all. There are two ARK funds. The one that you're looking for has the stock code of. Let me find it. Has the stock code of the ARK fund that you're looking for has the stock code of. Make sure y'all have the right fund. Yeah, you're looking for the stock code ARKVX. Let me say that again. You're looking for the stock code ARKVX if you're gonna do the ARK fund. Okay, it's the ARK Investment Fund. Okay, make sure you look for the stock code ARKVX. There is a ARK fund there is a ARK code for ARKVX, or ARKV, but that's a different fund that does not have SpaceX in it. That does not have SpaceX. The only ARK fund that has a SpaceX in their portfolio or in their fund is ARKVX. All right, look everybody. I hope this has been kind of informative. I know it probably went over, some of you all's head, but look some of this stuff up. Go back and play this video. Look this stuff up. Go to Google, do some research. If you can at least get the DXYZ fund, $29 a share. Get on Robinhood. I think you can get that through Robinhood. You can't get the ARK fund through Robinhood. I think you can get the DXYZ on most third party brokerage firms, like um, like Robinhood, Goldman Sachs, um, you know, um, you know, even Wells Fargo has a brokerage firm. You can get it through those type of things. Um, I know you can get it through one. Um, you can get it through one. What's what I'm looking for here? You can get it through Public One. You can get it through Public One. You can go through Public One. You can go to public.com. Go to public.com or go to your app store and look for Public One on your app store or yeah, look for Public One on your app store. And then what you're going to look for is you're going to look for, once you get it, you're going to look for Destiny Tech 100 Incorporated. Stock code DXYZ. Stock code DXYZ. That you can get for you can get that without having to come up with $500. You can get that at $29 a share right now. So you can $100 and get you about 3 shares. $500 and get you about 15, 20 shares. So which could turn into a lot of money. Even the $100 getting you 3 or 4 or 5 shares is going to increase your money once SpaceX goes public. But remember, that particular fund does not have all of the big companies like the ARK fund has in it. There's a reason why the ARK fund requires a minimum of $500. There's a reason why it's closed in, because it has the biggest potential to give you the biggest returns. So if you have any questions about this, give me a call, 850-933-4632. I'll be happy to do a Zoom with you, or, kind of, enlighten you. I don't charge off of this information. This is just, my attempts to make people aware of how to build wealth, you know, real wealth, how to do it the right way, how wealthy people make money. So I want you all to kind of be able to, to understand this and get exposed to it. And trust me when I tell you, this is not something that comes around every day. SpaceX going public. So hopefully you all will take heed to this, and hopefully you all will give me a call, shoot me some on my inbox, text message me or something. Show me that you at least you're hearing me, and and I'm not just doing this for naught. I mean, it's not going to increase my wealth one way or another if you take part in it or not. Believe me. So this is truly just from me to you, giving you this information because I want you to have it, and I want as many people to be in on it. Okay. It doesn't matter how much money you have if you know how to gain access to the tools and the resources that can help you build wealth. It doesn't matter about how much money you have. Because as you can see here, you can get some of this stock $29 a share, right? $29 a share right now. A lot of y'all spend more than that on hair you go out and buy. On beer you go and buy. Cigarettes, smoke, whatever. Just whatever your vice is. You spend more than $29, on something, on lottery tickets that you ain't gonna never win. So, that's just, and like I say, that's just my advice. That's just my opinion. I am not a investment banker. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not a stock advisor. I'm none of that. I'm just a regular, ordinary Joe who have been exposed to these types of wealth building strategies, and I took advantage of some of them. And I want you all to be able to take advantage of them too. Thank you all. I appreciate y'all. This has been Calvin, your commercial loan guy, and some of y'all know me as the wealth strategist. Have a nice day. Bye, everybody.